boys and girls, and welcome to Growing in God's Story. When we listen to the stories that God has given us in our special book called the Bible, we have to use our whole bodies to listen. We have to listen with our ears. We have to watch with our eyes. We have to keep our lips quiet, and we especially need to listen with our hearts. Anytime I bring you one of God's stories, I will always invite Jesus to be with us. He promised us that whenever we gathered in his name, he would be right here with us. And so to remind us that he's with us, I will always light a candle because we know that Jesus was the light of the world. You'll know that I'm ready to start telling you one of the stories and God's words when you hear this bell. So let's get our bodies ready to hear God's story. I wonder what this could be. It could be a pathway or a sidewalk. It could be a road. We know that there are a lot of roads in Jesus' time and in his stories because he traveled to many different villages. I wonder where the road might lead. Oh. Here's a place. It looks a little sandy and the buildings look very old. They have roofs that are rounded at the top. Looks like it might be near a desert. I wonder what that place could be. I think we'll leave it here, the end of the road. Oh, look. I have a house. It has a door that opens. Let's see, where is it? Oh, look at that. Yeah, it kind of looks like a birdhouse, doesn't it? I wonder who could live in this house. Maybe it's Mary's house or Joseph's. Maybe it's some of the disciples that live here. I wonder who could live there. Oh, look. I have a tree. Well, I wonder what kind of a tree this could be. I bet you could name all sorts of trees. Apple tree. An oak tree. Maybe a maple tree. Maybe a pear tree. There are so many different kinds of trees. Oh, and look who I found. I found some people. I'm going to put them right over here. I wonder who these people could be. Oh, they might be people that live in that house. Maybe they're some of the disciples. Yeah. Maybe they work out in the fields somewhere. Maybe they're coming to pick the apples off of this tree. That could be. It seems like they're waiting for something. I wonder what they could be waiting for. Maybe there's going to be a parade. Maybe someone really important is coming. I think I have everything I need to start my story. Every year, the Jewish people were invited to go to Jerusalem, to go to the temple to pray and to celebrate the Feast of the Passover. The Feast of the Passover was a remembrance of when Moses saved God's people from the terrible Pharaoh in Egypt. And they would remember all of God's blessings every year by going to the temple. Didn't matter where they lived, they would travel there. Jesus was a good Jew, and so were his disciples. And so they would travel to Jerusalem. And on this particular day, Jesus was traveling through a little village called Jericho. The people heard that Jesus was coming through their town. They were so excited. They had heard stories about him. They hadn't met him yet, but they heard all the wonderful things that he had done. He had healed people that were blind, people that were deaf, people who were sick, very sick. Some of them were almost dying. And so they wanted to come and see this person and hear his wonderful message. And so they ran to the pathway to greet him. As he was coming through the village, another person heard that he was there. His name was Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus wasn't a very tall man. He was very, very short. And Zacchaeus was a tax collector. Now, the people did not like Zacchaeus because a tax collector would come to your house and they would say, "You owe the king some money. And if you don't pay it, we will put you in jail." Something else that Zacchaeus did that wasn't very nice was that when he asked for the king's money, he would ask for more than the people owed. He would put the king's money in one bag, but then he would put the extra money in his own pocket and keep it. So he was stealing from the very people that he lived near in his neighborhood. When he heard that Jesus was coming, he ran to see him. But he was so short, and no one would let him come close. So he ran home, and he climbed all the way up on his sycamore tree so that he could see Jesus passing by. He had never met Jesus before, and Jesus had never met him before. But as Jesus was walking towards Jerusalem and he looked up at Zacchaeus and said, "Zacchaeus, what are you doing up in that tree? Come down from that tree right now." And so Zacchaeus came down. He was so surprised that Jesus knew his name. And Jesus said to him, "Zacchaeus, today I am coming to your house to have supper." The people who were watching this were so upset. They started grumbling. How could he go to a tax player's house for supper. Doesn't he know that that man has cheated us? Doesn't he know that he has taken things that don't belong to him? But Jesus said, come, Zacchaeus, we must go to your house. And so that's what they did. They went to Zacchaeus' house. And they had a long, long talk. When their visit was over, Zacchaeus said to Jesus, I know that I have done some things that aren't right. I am going to give back the money that I stole from these people, and I will give back more than I owe them. Jesus was so happy to hear what Zacchaeus said. And he said, Zacchaeus, today God has come to your house, and he is so happy that you are going to live the 10 best ways. And from that day, Zacchaeus did exactly that. He followed the 10 best ways. I hope that you'll have some time to think about the 10 best ways after this story.